Twój przewodnik po świecie języka angielskiego. Dzień dobry, tu Monika Podbielska. Dzisiaj chciałabym Wam opowiedzieć historię po angielsku. Spróbujcie zrozumieć z niej, ile się da. Jeżeli rozumiesz tylko pojedyncze słowa, to bardzo dobrze. Jeżeli rozumiesz niektóre zdania, to też bardzo dobrze. Wszystko, co możesz posłuchać, próbować zrozumieć, zawsze rozwija Cię językowo. Ale możesz pobrać z mojej strony pełen tekst www.monikapodbielska.pl i sprawdzić słownictwo. Wówczas możesz już tak zapoznany spróbować ten tekst posłuchać lub przeczytać raz jeszcze. Bardzo dobrze jest czytać na głos, bo w ten sposób uczymy się wymowy i zapamiętujemy słowa w kontekście. Zapraszam Was również na mojego Facebooka, Instagrama, gdzie znajdziecie wiele ciekawostek językowych. Na pewno wielu z Was myślało, że takie tradycje jak nasze rodzime prima aprilis, bo o tym dzisiaj tutaj mowa, to tylko właśnie u nas. Ale już który kraj, od którego przejął te tradycje, ponieważ obchodzimy to też w innych krajach, to pewnie tego nie dojdziemy. Ale dzisiaj posłuchajcie o historii i tradycjach właśnie naszego rodzimego prima aprilis w Wielkiej Brytanii, który to dzień nazywa się tam April Fool's Day. First day of April is known in England as All Fool's Day or April Fool's Day. The idea is simple. For the first 12 hours of April the 1st, you're allowed to play as many tricks as you like on as many people as you can deceive. Tricks are desperately played on friends or family members with a shout, April Fool! Children especially are strong supporters of this tradition, which come from the medieval Feast of Fools. In the festivals, any freedom was tolerated. Nowadays, April Fool's Day is a day for playing tricks and making jokes. As long ago as in 1825, already it was recorded that young boys would stop a man in the street and say, Sir, if you please, your shoes unbuckled, and then joyously escaped. There were also deceiving messages or invitations. One of the earliest known English examples of this last trick is recorded in a newsletter for April the 2nd, 1698, where we read that a number of people received invitations to see the lions washed at the Tower of London on April the 1st, and duly went there for this purpose. Precisely the same trick was played with equal success in 1860. In Scotland, people are sent a Gowk's errand. A Gowk is actually a cuckoo, but the word also means a fool. The victim is sent out with a note which, in secret from him or her, contains the words, Hunt the Gowk another mile. When the recipient reads it, informs the carrier that he must proceed to another house. And so off goes the poor hunter Gowk, only to be told the same thing at the second place. The television, radio and newspapers also occasionally try to deceive their customers with a cleverly constructed April Fool story. In one of them, for example, a BBC program did a 10-minute report about spaghetti trees in Switzerland. The reporter described how, with the recent bad weather, the trees weren't producing as much spaghetti as they normally did, and that this would make spaghetti more expensive. Another famous joke was played on the radio. A scientific correspondent reported that because of strange geographical conditions, gravity was getting weaker in different parts in Britain. He asked the people who were listening to the program to jump up and down. If they could jump higher than usual, they were asked to telephone BBC. In fact, BBC received hundreds of calls. One man said that he was so light that he could jump up to the ceiling. At midnight, BBC gently informed its listeners that it had been an April Fool trick. The Guardian newspaper did a 12-page special report on an island called San Sheriff. The island doesn't actually exist, but some readers didn't realize this. until some days later. And how did it all start? It was 1545 that a Norwegian scientist was staying in London where, as he had informed, was trying to find the secret of flying. King Henry VIII received a letter from Mr. Luf Lirpa, the Norwegian, in which he announced that he had finally solved the secret of flying. He asked the king to be present at a demonstration flight at Westminster on April the 1st. So, the king and the leading politicians of that day were standing outside the Palace of Westminster on April the 1st and were waiting for Mr. Lirpa to arrive flying. But of course, nothing happened. But the day remained the tradition to play tricks on people on the day of April the 1st. Recent research shows that Mr. Lirpa wasn't playing tricks on the king, actually. He had learned how to fly in a machine, but the machine had crashed on the way to Westminster and he had died. It was a tragedy for science. If Luf Lirpa had demonstrated the flying secret, maybe we would have been flying an airplane much earlier. Unfortunately, the scientist hadn't left any notes or sketches, so his secret couldn't be discovered. Although most people in Britain haven't heard of Luf Lirpa, he is very famous in Norway. April the 1st is a national holiday and people remember his flying trip by having ski jumping competitions. They also eat a special cake. But this is not the real name of the scientist, of course. But if you read it backwards, his name is... No jak pobierzecie sobie tekst, to będziecie mogli sprawdzić jego prawdziwe imię i nazwisko i poznacie prawdę o tej historii. Na mojej stronie znajdziecie tekst wraz ze słownictwem, także zapraszam Was na www.monikapodbielska.pl. Tak jak zawsze Wam to powtarzam, spróbuj zrozumieć ile możesz, a potem sprawdź nowe słowa i ucz się ich w kontekście. Dzięki temu łatwiej zapamiętasz i będziesz mógł używać ich w swoich własnych wypowiedziach. Możesz też przeczytać tekst na głos. Nie bójcie się, że coś źle wymawiacie. Próbuj, a przyjdzie taki moment, że będzie coraz łatwiej. A jak będzie się łatwo czytało, to i będzie się łatwo mówiło. Zapraszam Was raz jeszcze na mój Instagram i Facebook, gdzie znajdziecie różne ciekawostki językowe. Tymczasem do usłyszenia i zapraszam na kolejne spotkanie. Pozdrawiam, Monika Podbielska.